Single mom discovers heartwarming ACT of kindness, CEO covers 500 medicine costs life-changing. Lila stood in the bustling diner, the smell of sizzling bacon hanging thick in the air. Her hands were worn but steady, grabbing plates from the kitchen and sliding them onto a table scattered with chatter and laughter. Despite the constant cycle of life that swirled around her, her mind couldn't escape the clutch of worry. 7-year-old Ethan needed a medication that cost more than her rent, and the storm cloud of despair loomed larger each day. Each smile worn by the patrons felt sharp, like salt on an open wound. At home, Ethan was a whirlwind of energy. His endless questions and boundless curiosity brought joy, even when life was hard. Each smile from him was a small reminder of hope. Yet, Lila felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, battling fatigue from her 2 jobs, waitressing by day and cleaning houses by night. When Ethan looked into her eyes, she decided she'd do whatever it took to give him the future he deserved. Then came that Saturday, a community fundraiser organized to stitch together the social fabric of their town. Lila, encouraged by Mrs. Harris, an elderly veteran with a heart of gold, joined in hoping to find help. As speeches echoed and laughter erupted, Lila took a deep breath. She had to keep pushing through. But when a sudden whisper caught her ear, it was about her. It spilled like spilled coffee across the crowd. Ethan's medication, the staggering cost. Murmurs turned to gasps, eyes wide as they connected the dots. "Did you hear?" someone said, their voice dripping with disbelief. "One of ours needs help." At that moment, the gaze of Jake Thompson landed on Lila. The CEO, known for his wealth and aloof demeanor, seemed surprised, eyes softening against the backdrop of judgment. The community of their suburban town had a way of pretending that financial troubles didn't exist, yet there he was, clearly moved. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Days later, Lila discovered a letter slipped under her door, one signed anonymously but traced straight back to Jake. It outlined how he had covered Ethan's medicine, a hard-earned gift overshadowed by his own memories of hardship. Lila's heart raced, her chest tightening as she realized she had leapt to believing the worst about the man she barely knew. When they finally came face to face, the tension erupted in a charged confrontation. They were 2 sides of the same coin reflecting different lives, both tethered to pain, love, and a desperate need for understanding. "Money isn't everything," he said, a subtle tremble in his voice. "You taught me that." But as the fundraiser faded into night, things began to spiral. Lila's newfound insight brought questions of merit and direction. Would the community heal together from this moment, or was their unity just a fragile facade fraying at the seams? Tensions rose, discussions ignited, leaving both Lila and Jake standing at the edge of a chasm they hadn't anticipated. As she looked around her community, thrumming with emotions, Lila realized something monumental was at stake. Would they be able to emerge from this stronger? Would the raw sincerity of meeting halfway stand firm against the intricate threads of their pasts? Just as hope began to flourish, Lila's heart lurched. Could she really navigate this swirl of confusion, or would the weight of their histories pull everything apart? With eyes widened and spirits ignited, the story was only beginning to unfold, and uncertainty bathed the air thick with anticipation. Lila stood frozen for a moment, her hand still on the door handle. Jake's words echoed in her mind. How could he say that? The tension hung thick, almost suffocating. She was just a waitress juggling 2 jobs, he was a corporate titan. Yet somehow, that distance between them felt less pronounced now. With one act of kindness, Jake had pierced through the armor she wore, and she felt both grateful and vulnerable. She turned to leave the fundraiser, her heart racing. Lila had been proud of her independence, but that pride now felt like a barrier, one that Jake had unexpectedly breached. That evening, she sat on the worn couch at home, Ethan curled up beside her, oblivious to the storm brewing in her mind. Cartoon characters danced on the screen, but her eyes saw nothing. She thought about Jake's compelling gaze, the softness that belied his hard exterior. He had money, which could heavily tilt the scales of life, but his willingness to help felt so much deeper. "Mommy?" Ethan tugged at her elbow, drawing her out of her thoughts. "Can you make pancakes tomorrow? The ones with chocolate chips?" His eyes sparkled with innocence, awakening a fleeting smile on her lips. "Of course, buddy," she responded, ruffling Ethan's hair, though her heart was still heavy. But that smile faded as her mind wandered back to the reality of the impending costs for Ethan's medication. The laughter of the diner patrons, the camaraderie during that fundraiser, it all felt fleeting compared to looming financial burdens. Days turned into a whirlwind of emotions. Lila found herself avoiding the diner, preferring to tackle the housework that piled up like her worries. Each time she glanced at Ethan, who was thriving despite everything, guilt washed over her. The shadows of doubt silenced the voice that said they could truly build something better together. Meanwhile, whispers rippled through the community. Word of Jake's act spread quickly, the juxtaposition of wealth and need igniting discussions in places Lila never expected. Some praised him as a local hero, while others were skeptical. They wondered what his motives were. The truth was, she didn't know what to think anymore. She couldn't help but feel that his generosity would set off a chain reaction. Would the town truly come together, or would it wallow in controversy? On impulse, Lila pulled out her phone. With her heart racing, she typed a message to Jake, biting her lip as she reread it. "Can we talk? I need to understand what this means for my son and for us. All of us." It took just a moment for the three little dots to appear on the screen, indicating he was typing back. Anxiety coursed through Lila, a mix of hope and fear. But deep down, she knew that something had sparked between them, an undeniable truth they couldn't ignore. The response came, and she held her breath. "I'd like that. How about tomorrow after work?" Looking into Ethan's innocent eyes once more, Lila felt hope flicker. This moment could reshuffle the priorities of her life, but how? Was she ready to step into a new territory with him? The chasm stretched out before her. Could they cross it together, or would fear keep them apart? The next day loomed heavy with uncertainty. What would happen when she arrived and opened that door to an uncharted conversation with Jake? Would it steer them towards healing, or unravel everything they had only just begun to build? Lila paced the small, cluttered living room, her heart racing as she glanced at the clock. Time felt like liquid moments dripping away, and each tick echoed in her mind. When had waiting become so excruciating? She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. What would she even say to him? Ethan's laughter echoed from the kitchen, where he was cracking eggs with delight for their pancake breakfast. The aroma of sizzling butter filled the air, a simple joy. But even as she inhaled the sweet scent, the knot in her stomach tightened. The thought of Jake waiting for her was like a double-edged sword, excitement mingled with dread. "Mommy! Look!" Ethan called, proudly revealing the slightly deformed pancake he had created. It was a wobbly, chocolate chip-studded mess, but his grin lit up the room. Lila couldn't help but smile. "That's the best pancake I've ever seen," she exclaimed, her heart squeezing with pride and love. But deep down, the question still lingered: what was she doing? When she finally stood by the door, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the floor, she felt the weight of her independence crash down on her. Should she really bring Ethan into this? No, Lila chided herself, shaking her head. This wasn't just about her anymore. Ethan needed stable footing, a life beyond worries. The thought filigree through her: perhaps this was the start of that life. As she approached the restaurant Jake had suggested, her stomach twisted with anticipation. Would he be different than she remembered? Would the wealth that surrounded him still feel foreign or intimate the warmth of his spirit echoing through his kindness? Jake stood by the entrance, his outline framed by the golden light of the setting sun. When he saw her, that familiar softness returned to his gaze, a stark contrast to the power suit he wore. He looked welcoming, perhaps even a little anxious. "Hi, Lila," he said, his voice low and sincere. "Thanks for coming." "Thanks for asking," she replied, trying to sound casual while her mind raced with uncertainty. Could she express all the swirling emotions inside her without sounding overwhelmed? They stepped inside the restaurant, the clamor of voices and the sizzling of food engulfing them. Jake led them to a quiet corner. As they settled into the plush booth, the warmth that surrounded them felt like a protective barrier from the outside world. "So about what I did," Jake began awkwardly, fiddling with the napkin. "I hope it didn't put you in a tough spot." "I just know, it didn't." It was easier to stop him there. "I mean, it did, a little. But I want to understand why you stepped in, what you were thinking." Jake met her gaze, and Lila could see layers of complexity in his eyes. "It's easy for me to throw money around. I have it. But helping isn't just that. It's a connection. I just wanted to show you that there's more than just the surface." The weight of his words landed heavily between them. She could feel the barriers she'd built around her heart starting to wobble, thread by thread. "But it feels like charity. And I'm scared that's all I'll ever be to you, a project to fix." Each word was stained with vulnerability, her defenses starting to slip away. "That's not it, Lila." Jake's voice was steady as he reached across the table, his hand hovering just above hers. "I see you. Not just your situation. You're strong, remarkable, and I want to support you, both of you." His warmth seeped into her, unlocking something deep inside. For the first time, Lila felt like she was standing on solid ground in this swirling storm of uncertainty. But then, the inevitable fear washed over her, the thought that trusting him might lead to more heartbreak. "Can we really do this?" she whispered, unsure if she even meant the two of them, or the path they were about to tread. Just as Jake opened his mouth to respond, a shrill ringing broke the moment, the sound of her phone vibrating relentlessly in her pocket. "Sorry," she said, fumbling for her phone, the glowing screen lighting up with a message. But as she glanced at it, all warmth fled from her face. It was a notification from the pharmacy about Ethan's medication costs, and it felt like a door slamming shut in her face. Looking back up at Jake, Lila felt the heaviness return, their shared moment teetering on the edge of collapse. "Lila?" he asked, concern lacing his voice. A new wave of panic swept through her, intertwining with her surviving hope. Could they truly navigate this world, or would the complications of life drown them both before they even had a chance? As she looked into Jake's eyes, she wondered what lay ahead. Would they find a way through the haze? Or would this moment be nothing more than a flicker before darkness returned? Lila's heart stumbled as she read the notification again. The pharmacy needed an amount that felt insurmountable. $500. It was a mountain she couldn't climb without help. Her hands trembled, and she dropped the phone onto the table, the sound startling Jake. "Is everything okay?" he asked, his brow furrowed in concern. She forced a smile, but it wavered. "It's nothing. Just a bill." "Not a nothing bill, I assume," he replied, trying to keep the mood light but clearly worried. "Is it for Ethan?" Lila nodded, the weight pressing down on her shoulders like a boulder. "His medication, it's a lot more than I expected." "It always is." Jake's expression shifted, and in that moment, she could see the calculations happening in his mind as he processed her situation. She half hoped he would offer to help, but the other half of her resisted that idea with a fierce intensity. She didn't want to be that woman, the one who accepted charity. She didn't want him to see her as needy. "I'm sorry," he said softly, his fingers brushing against hers, but she pulled away instinctively. "I have to figure this out myself," she insisted, the fierce independence that had long been her shield now feeling like it was making her vulnerable. "I can't depend on anyone else." Lila, Jake's voice cut through her urgency. "You shouldn't have to carry this alone. She swallowed hard, fighting against the tears that threatened to spill. But I do. I always have. Ethan needs stability, not someone swooping in to fix his mom's problems. She was on the verge of losing it, the emotion a raw nerve beneath her skin, the corners of Jake's mouth turned down, and he leaned in closer. Look, I know I can't change everything overnight, but I can at least help you get through today. His sincerity wrapped around her, but it made her heartbeat quicken, every part of her wanting to let go, but the fears were suffocating. Why would you want to help me? We're not the same. Your world, it's nothing like mine. You'd be surprised, he said, that warmth returning to his voice. I'm just a guy who is trying to understand the people around him. I see your strength. It's what draws me in. But it was all too much. Too much hope, too much possibility simmering under the surface, waiting to consume them. And like a dam bursting, her thoughts collided. What if this is just another failure for me? What if I ruin this for Ethan? Jake frowned, his gaze steady and reassuring. You aren't ruining anything, Lila. You're trying to navigate a tough situation. That's resilience, not failure. She thought about Ethan and the bright future she wanted for him. Would trusting Jake help create that future, or would she just be dragging him down into her chaos? Her heart wrestled with this truth as uncertainty swirled around her. Just then, the waiter approached, bringing them their drinks. The moment felt heavy as he set them down, a stark contrast to their conversation. As the waiter walked away, Jake broke the silence. Why don't we figure this out together? I can make a phone call or two to get this sorted. Just let me help you, Lila. No, she whispered vehemently, but it came out softer than intended. I can't. Please don't. He exhaled deeply, leaning back, the light of understanding flickering in his eyes. Okay, but maybe we can find a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. Has Ethan's doctor suggested any alternatives? Lila blinked at him, processing his question. Alternatives? They had always found ways to scramble together what they needed, but what if alternatives could open a door she had never even considered? Then a part of her whispered, what if Jake was right? What if they could figure this out, as a team, and not just for her sake, but for Ethan's too? Maybe I could talk to the doctor, she finally said, the words feeling like a tentative step into the unknown. A grin broke across Jake's face, a mixture of relief and encouragement. That's a start. But just as her heart began to settle, a chill washed over her. The thought simmered at the back of her mind, what if this worked, but then still fell apart. As the warmth of connection brightened their booth, a flicker of panic clawed at her insides. Could she really risk it all again? With a man who was ready to dive into the chaos? Lila found herself staring at the table, twisting her napkin, feeling the gravity of choices hanging above them. The warmth of the moment felt delicate, like it could shatter at any second. Lila? Jake's voice called her back. Can you promise me something? She asked, her blue eyes searching his. Anything. Just name it. Don't get too close too fast. I can't let you down again. He nodded slowly, his expression resolving into something deeper, something unspoken. Just take it one step at a time. As they sat across from each other, Lila knew the road ahead was fraught with uncertainty, yet the flicker of hope sparked inside her. Maybe, just maybe, this was the chance they both needed. Just as the atmosphere lightened, her phone vibrated again on the table. She flinched at the sound. Another notification this time, a call from Ethan's school. What now? She murmured under her breath, feeling the walls start to close in once more. As Jake watched her reaction, concern shadowing his face, she wondered if this was a sign of something more. Or just another barrier to navigate. Either way, she knew one thing for sure, the next call could change everything. Maybe the time to find out was now. Lila's heart raced as she glanced at Jake, the concern etching deeper into his features. She felt trapped. The call from Ethan's school loomed, a reminder of the potential problems that awaited her. The safe bubble they had created in their booth felt distant and fragile in this moment, the weight of her reality pressed down hard. "Shouldn't you answer that?" Jake asked, gently prodding her back to the ground. Taking a shaky breath, she reached for her phone, her fingers hovering over the screen. "What if it's something bad?" she said, fear trembling in her voice. "Or it's something positive that could change everything," he countered, his eyes flickering with warmth. "You won't know unless you pick it up." With a deep breath, she accepted the reality she had been avoiding. She lifted the phone and pressed answer. "Hello," she said, her voice strained, revealing more emotion than she intended. "Hi, Ms. Jensen. This is Principal Adams from Ethan's school. I'm calling concerning his appointment with the school counselor tomorrow. I wanted to confirm that you're able to." Lila's heart sank, a familiar anxiety twisting in the pit of her stomach. "Yes, I will be there," she managed to respond. "Great. And just so you know, last week, we noticed Ethan was a bit withdrawn in class. If you ever want to discuss his progress or get extra support, we're here to help." "Thank you," she said, although her mind was racing. What did he mean by withdrawn? Was Ethan struggling more than she realized? Once the call ended, Lila felt Jake's eyes on her. She looked up to see concern mirrored on his face. "What did he say?" "Just checking in, about Ethan." Her voice cracked, the fear spilling out. "I know he is having a hard time. What if I can't give him what he needs?" Jake reached across the table, his hand enveloping hers again. "Lila, you're doing everything you can. You're showing up, you're trying. That matters more than anything." She didn't pull away this time, the warmth of his touch wrapping around her like a lifeline. But doubt still loomed. "But what will that take from me? Mentally? Emotionally? I feel like I can't juggle it all." "It's okay not to have all the answers right now," he said softly. "Just take one step. Like we talked about, see the doctor, and think about those alternatives. Maybe they will help Ethan without adding much to your burden." A flicker of hope sparked, but as soon as it ignited, a shadow passed over her. She looked at him, her thoughts spiraling. "I don't want to wear you out. I want to protect you from my struggles." Jake smiled gently, squeezing her hand. "And I'm right here, Lila. You're not dragging anyone down. You're human, you're strong, but you're not invincible." A tear escaped, surprising her. She wiped it quickly, an internal battle raging. "I'm just scared of being vulnerable," she admitted, the crack in her armor exposed. "That's natural," he replied. "But vulnerability doesn't mean weakness. It means you're a real person facing real problems. Let me be there with you on this." Lila's walls felt like they were crumbling. The image of Ethan's bright, innocent face floated into her mind, and with it, the realization that her fears could never overshadow her love for him. Just then, her phone buzzed again. The sound was sharp, slicing through her moment of clarity. She glanced down to see another notification, this one from the pharmacy. "The insurance update just came," she muttered, anxiety creeping back. "I think I might be too late." Jake's expression hardened with determination. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together." Feeling overwhelmed, Lila took a deep breath. "But what if they want help? What if I can't handle this?" "In that case," he said, leaning in closer, "we'll figure something else out. Together." As she opened the message, her heart pounded. What she found was both terrifying and potentially life-altering. It would change everything they had just begun to contemplate. Lila turned to Jake, the words unformed on her lips, contemplating the journey ahead. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, his voice steady as it washed over her like a soothing balm despite the storm brewing inside, and in that moment, Lila realized that the path she stood on was about to twist in ways she could never predict. What would their next step be? Would she find the support she desperately needed, or would she face another disappointment? The answer loomed large and terrifying. The decisions she made next could alter their lives forever. As they both leaned closer, ready to dive into the unknown, her heart whispered a question she had not yet dared to voice. Would this be the change their lives had been waiting for? The notification from the pharmacy hung in the air around Lila, a tempest of emotions swirling as she stole a glance at Jake. Anxiety clouded her thoughts, but beneath it all, a glimmer of hope flickered. "Okay," she murmured, barely above a whisper. "What does it say?" Jake's voice was steady, his eyes locked onto hers, searching for answers, but a hint of encouragement mixed in his gaze. Lila took a breath, her fingers trembling as they brushed over the screen. "It's about Ethan's medication, the costs." Her voice trailed off as a knot twisted tighter in her stomach. "Just read it." Jake's presence weighed heavy with anticipation. She inhaled sharply and began to read aloud. "Due to recent changes in your insurance, your out-of-pocket cost for Ethan's prescription is significantly higher than expected." Jake's brow furrowed, and Lila felt her heartbeat quicken. She pressed on. "It estimates over $500. "It's 500. Jake interrupted, incredulous. "That's a lot of money." "Yes," she replied, a lump forming in her throat. "I don't even know how I can manage that." The words spilled out in a rush, tinged with despair. Jake closed the distance between them, enveloping her in a cocoon of comfort. "Lila," he said softly. "We'll find a way. There are programs and charities that can help. You're not alone in this." Yet, the walls around Lila were closing in, and she felt the weight of her situation pressing down. What if it's too late? What if I can't even get that kind of help? I shouldn't have to burden you with my problems. Rainclouds of fear hung over her thoughts. "Listen," Jake said, his voice growing firm and unwavering. "You're not a burden. You're doing everything you can for Ethan, and that takes strength. If we have to go door to door asking for help, then that's what we'll do." She met his eyes, hoping to find reassurance, but instead noticed the fierce resolve there. "But that's so much pressure. What if it doesn't work? Then we'll keep pushing forward until something does. I won't stop fighting with you." He gave her hand a reassuring squeeze, grounding her in the moment. Lila stared at their intertwined fingers. There was warmth in his touch, a reminder that she wasn't in this alone. Still, shadows of doubt loomed. What if this is too heavy? What if I can't manage everything? Shouldn't I just let him go? Let him go. Jake's expression shifted from concern to disbelief. "Lila, you can't think like that. You're a great mom. You're his advocate. You love him, and that's what matters. If it's tough right now, it doesn't mean you're failing." Just then, her phone buzzed again. Jake's eyes widened as Lila picked it up, her pulse pounding. "It's from the pharmacy again," she said, her voice trembling. She could see it was a reply something unexpected was coming. "Open it," Jake urged, leaning closer. She hesitated, her heart racing. What if it was more bad news? Finally, she clicked the notification and her breath caught in her throat as she read the message that it expressed the company's commitment to supporting patients and offered a discount program she hadn't known existed, suggesting they could reduce the cost significantly. Jake, they might actually help. This could be. Lila's voice cracked with emotion that a smile broke across Jake's face, illuminating the doubts that had been shrouding them in darkness. "See? I told you. We'll find a way. But what if it's not enough?" Lila wiped a tear from her cheek, still battling the mental whirlwind. "What if it still leaves us short?" "Then we'll figure that out too," he said, his tone unwavering, filled with possibility. Together, their fingers still linked, Lila felt the warmth of hope seep into her core. Maybe, just maybe, this was a step toward the support they so desperately needed. If it could change Ethan's life, if it could lighten her load, would she dare to believe in something special? As she looked into Jake's eyes, filled with unwavering support and determination, she knew they had just tapped into a lifeline. The tides were shifting, and hope was giving way to determination. but beneath the optimism, a question loomed. What if this kindness turned into something transformative, pushing her to finally confront all her worries and embrace the support she so yearned for? Would she trust it enough to take that leap? Lila felt the rush of emotions ripple through her as she absorbed Jake's words, "We'll figure that out too, together." The weight of the world shifted just slightly, enough to let in a little light. She looked back down at her phone, the words of the pharmacy dancing in front of her eyes. Could this truly be the answer they had been searching for? "Okay," Lila said, a tentative smile creeping across her face. "Let's give this discount program a try." "Absolutely." Jake grinned wider now, his confidence infectious. "Let's call them right away." Before she could second-guess herself, Lila opened the pharmacy's website again, her hands shaking slightly as she navigated through the menu options. With each click, her hope mingled with a rushing fear. What if there were endless hoops to jump through? What if the help was only a mirage? "Hey," Jake gently squeezed her hand again, bringing her back to the moment. "Breathe. Remember, you're not alone. Just take it one step at a time." "Right. One step." She nodded, focusing on the sound of his voice, steady and reassuring. She dialed the number, her heart racing. As the phone rang, Lila couldn't help but think about Ethan. Her sweet little boy, who had been bravely fighting against the odds. His laughter echoed in her mind, a reminder of the bright light he was. "He deserves a shot at this," she whispered to herself, determination rising. "Hello, thank you for calling," a friendly voice greeted her, pulling her out of her thoughts. Lila reviewed her case briefly, explaining her situation and how the sudden cost increase threatened everything. The representative on the other end listened with care, offering encouragement, which spurred Lila's confidence. "It looks like you might qualify for our assistance program based on your circumstances," the woman said warmly. "Yes. Really?" Lila's voice sharpened with excitement. "Absolutely. Let me walk you through the process." As the woman outlined the necessary steps, Lila's eyes darted over to Jake. His expression mirrored her mix of nervousness and budding hope. With each answer she provided, it felt like the walls around her were inching back, allowing glimpses of a way forward. "Okay, we'll send you the application form through email. Just fill it out and return it to us within 5 days, the representative concluded. "You should hear back within a week about your eligibility." Lila released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Thank you so much." The words came out, laced with sincerity. "This helps more than you know." After hanging up, she turned to Jake, her cheeks flushed with relief. "We have a chance. It's not guaranteed, but it's a chance." Jake's face lit up, his eyes sparkling with optimism. "See? Together, we can tackle anything." Just as her relief began to settle in, a thought struck Lila hard. "But what if we get turned down? What then?" "Then we'll keep trying," Jake replied, his gaze unwavering. "We've already come this far." "But what if?" Lila hesitated, her heart racing as her mind spiraled into dark possibilities. "What if this kindness is just a temporary fix and doesn't solve our bigger problems? Then we address those too. We'll gather help, seek all the resources we can," Jake insisted, his voice steady. "You are not in this situation alone anymore. We'll figure it out together, no matter what it takes." His strength wrapped around her like a warm blanket, but doubt still edged its way in. Lila couldn't shake the worry that came with relying on others, the fear of letting him down or being disappointed. With a soft sigh, she replied, "Okay together." Still, a lingering question bubbled within her. What if this was the pivotal moment that truly transformed everything? What if accepting help opened doors she never knew existed? As the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing their surroundings in golden light, Lila felt the weight of her fears begin to ebb away, one flicker of courage at a time. Would she allow herself to be lifted by the kindness that surrounded her, or would she still cling to the shadows of doubt? The decision loomed larger than ever, and She couldn't help but wonder if the answers she sought were just around the corner. The next morning, Lila's heartbeat felt like a marching drum, each pulse reminding her of the fragile hope that now paraded through her thoughts. She grabbed her phone and stared at the email inbox, her stomach fluttering with a cocktail of dread and excitement. The pharmacy's confirmation could arrive any minute, and with it, the answers she had desperately sought for Ethan. "Mommy, look." Ethan's voice sliced through her worries as he zoomed into the kitchen on his toy car. His hair was tousled, his grin wide and bright. In that moment, all uncertainties faded for a heartbeat. He was the beacon in her storm, the reason behind every breath she took. "Hey, buddy," she smiled, the tension in her shoulders softening. "What has got you so excited today?" He held up a picture he'd drawn of a superhero, an orange and blue figure, complete with a cape and a huge grin. "This is you. You're my superhero, Mommy." Lila's heart swelled. "I love it. But I think your superhero needs a little help today. Can you be my superhero and help me check the email?" "Okay." He squeaked, delving into the world of his imagination without skipping a beat. They settled at the kitchen table together. The sunlight streamed through the window, casting a golden glow that made everything feel warm and hopeful. Lila sat beside Ethan, his tiny fingers smudging the colorful crayons across the table. She directed her attention to her phone, fingers crossed tightly in anticipation. "Mommy, you're gonna get it. I believe in you." He chimed, pure joy in his voice. "Thank you, sweet pea." She smiled as she opened her email, scrolling through a wave of countless messages. Disappointment flickered when she saw nothing from the pharmacy, but as she cleared out the clutter, her heart nearly stopped when she spotted a new one. "It's from them." Her voice came out higher than she expected, blending excitement and anxiety. She quickly opened the email and scanned the words on the screen. Ethan leaned closer, his small head resting against her shoulder as they read together. "We're pleased to inform you that your application has been approved. Your medication will be covered for the next 6 months." Lila blinked rapidly to process the unexpected news. A rush of tears filled her eyes, pure relief bursting forth. "We did it, Ethan. We actually did it." He bounced up and down in his chair. "Yay! We're gonna be okay." They hugged tightly, the warmth of their connection erasing the lingering shadows of doubt that had pursued Lila for so long. In that moment, she realized that accepting help didn't mean losing her strength. It meant finding new ways to protect her family. "I knew our teamwork would work," Ethan said proudly, beaming up at her. "Yes, teamwork." She echoed, tapping the table in playful agreement. "And because you believed." As the reality of their victory washed over Lila, an understanding settled in her heart. They were not just surviving, they were thriving together, weaving dreams from the scraps life had thrown at them, but in the joy, another thought flickered through her mind. What would they do when the 6 months ended? Perhaps this was just the beginning. For now, they took a moment to celebrate, laughing and drawing together, filling the kitchen with their bright energy. Suddenly, the phone buzzed again, jolting them both. Another email. Lila opened it tentatively. What if it's something more? She murmured under her breath. Ethan's small hand clasped hers. Whatever it is, we'll face it together, right? Taking a deep breath, she opened the message and read. As the words sunk in, Lila's heart raced again, not with excitement this time, but with a fresh wave of uncertainty. What this new email revealed could change everything once more. Was she ready for whatever awaited in the next chapter of their journey? The enormity of the moment hung in the air, and with it, a new challenge lurked. Lila's eyes darted across the email, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. The familiar rush of anxiety twisted in her stomach as she read the bold subject line, a special initiative for families in need. Her mind raced, trying to process this unexpected news. With a quick intake of breath, she delved deeper into the message. Dear Lila, it began, and her eyes widened at the mention of her name. We are thrilled to inform you that because your recent application has highlighted your family's needs, the CEO has generously decided to create a fund dedicated to supporting families in your situation. This means not only will your current medication costs be covered, but we are also prepared to assist you further if needed. Lila scrolled down, her pulse quickening as she read the details. The email outlined resources, support groups, and even potential job opportunities within the company. But there was something even more profound that caught her attention, an open invitation to a community event aimed at building relationships between families and local businesses. She felt her breath hitch. "Ethan," she whispered, pulling her son closer. "You won't believe what this says." Ethan's little fingers danced over the screen, eager to comprehend the words. He bounced with excitement, his enthusiasm radiant. "What does it say, Mommy?" "It means," she hesitated, struggling to compose her thoughts amidst the joy. "It means we're not alone. There is help, and not just for now, but for the future, too. They want to support us." As the reality of the news seeped into her consciousness, Lila felt a stirring of something powerful hope. For so long, she had trudged through each day, managing one stressor after another, but this felt different. This was an open door, and for the first time, she sensed light pouring through. Ethan clapped his hands. "We can go to an event. For us. Just like superheroes." Lila laughed, the sound bubbling from within her, an outpouring of joy mixed with disbelief. "Yes. Just like superheroes. We can meet other families. And maybe even find friends. Like real-life friends." Ethan's eyes sparkled with delight. "Exactly." But just as quickly as joy surged through her, worry crept back in. But what if it's not as good as it sounds? What if it's a scam? She leaned back, uncertainty pooling in her chest like a weight. Ethan's small hand squeezed hers. "Mommy, if it's scary, we'll be brave together. Remember?" His bright smile ignited something within her. If they faced challenges together, they could tackle anything. "You're right," she said, feeling resolute. "Let us be brave." He cheered, fists pumping in the air. "When do we go?" She glanced at the email again, noticing the event date circled just a week away. "Next Saturday. It's almost here." As they finished reading the rest of the email, her heart fluttered with possibility. They were embarking on a journey that could change everything. Later that afternoon, Lila sat in the small living room, a jumble of thoughts in her mind. She drafted a reply, expressing her gratitude and eagerness to attend the event. But beneath her hope lingered a question. Was she ready to put herself and Ethan out there, to engage with others? What if it didn't live up to her expectations? But the moment she glanced over at Ethan, diligently coloring another picture, she understood. They weren't just seeking medication or support, they were looking for community, for connection. With each stroke of his crayon, Ethan created drawings filled with superheroes, friends, and adventures. "Mommy!" he shouted suddenly. "Can I create a super team for the event? We can call it Team Courage." Lila chuckled, her heart lightening at his enthusiasm. "That sounds amazing. But what about this? Will you let me be the advisor of Team Courage?" Ethan giggled. "Yes. You're the superhero." Just then, her phone chimed with a reminder notification. "Oh." Lila remembered. "We need to plan what we'll wear." In that moment of playful excitement, Lila's worries began to fade into the background. The prospect of the upcoming event kindled a spark of joy and anticipation. Perhaps this could be the turning point they needed. As Ethan continued to dream up ideas, a new thought tugged at Lila. With so much uncertainty ahead, could the upcoming event help them find not just support but true belonging within the community? The thought lingered in her mind as she busily crafted a list of things to prepare. What would she discover about herself and others as they stepped into this new venture together? Would Team Courage be ready to embrace whatever came next? As the sun rose on the day of the event, Lila felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. She stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her hair, the familiar sense of worry creeping back in. Would they fit in? Was it really worth it? But then she heard Ethan's voice, filled with boundless excitement as he rummaged through his drawings. "Look, Mommy. Team Courage is ready." He waved the colorful paper like a banner of triumph. Lila turned, her heart swelling with pride. There he was, her little superhero, radiating joy and determination. "You're right, buddy. We were meant to do this together." On the way to the venue, the car was alive with Ethan's chatter, his imagination weaving stories about superheroes saving the world. Each laugh loosened her grip on anxiety, reminding her that connection could sprout from vulnerability. Lila felt a quivering excitement within her, the promise of a new beginning shimmering ahead. They arrived at the community center, a buzz of voices and laughter enveloping them. The warmth of the gathering welcomed them like an embrace. Lila glanced at Ethan, who stood wide-eyed at the sight of families gathered, all different yet connected through shared journeys. "Mommy, look. There are other kids just like me," Ethan exclaimed, his energy igniting further. This was no longer about survival, it was about community, about belonging. They ventured further in, and Lila spotted a booth set up for support resources. As they approached, she realized they just crossed the threshold of something more important than she ever imagined: hope intertwined with purpose. "Are you here for the event?" a friendly staff member asked, smiling warmly. "Yes. We're excited to see what it's all about," Lila replied, her voice steadying. Ethan beamed. "And we're Team Courage." That was all it took. The staffer's smile widened, mirroring Lila's rapidly filling heart. "Well, Team Courage, you're in for a treat. Let us get you some materials that will guide you today." As the event unfolded, Lila watched Ethan dive into the activities, laughing and making new friends. Each moment felt like a splash of color on her once muted canvas of worry. And there was Jake, standing a few steps away. His support felt like a steady hand on her back, encouraging her to breathe through the uncertainty. "Hey there, Team Courage." Jake waved, his smile brighter than before. "Are you enjoying yourselves?" "Yes." Ethan shouted, launching into an animated recount of the art activities, and although Lila felt mildly embarrassed at his volume, she also felt the joy bubbling inside her. There was something electric about this atmosphere, a community rising to support one another, lifting burdens, sharing stories. As they moved toward a discussion group, Lila found herself sharing her story. The more she spoke, the more she felt the walls around her heart dissolve. "I used to think I had to handle everything by myself. But being here, surrounded by all of you, has shown me that support is a beautiful thing," she admitted, her voice brimming with sincerity. The audience nodded, and she could see flashes of understanding mirrored back at her. When she sat down, Jake leaned in, his expression earnest. "You're inspiring, Lila. You've got something powerful." "I'm still figuring this out, Jake. But together, we're becoming something more." As the event wrapped up, Lila looked around. The energy in the room felt different. Conversations flowed freely, connections formed over similar struggles. The laughter of children echoed, a soundtrack of healing. Lila took Ethan's hand, squeezing it tightly. They weren't just getting by anymore. They were stepping into the light. "Mommy, I want to come back next time," Ethan declared as they walked out, excitement lacing his words. "Absolutely. Together, we'll be back." Lila smiled down at him, and in that moment, clarity washed over her. She was not just a single mom struggling through a storm, she was Lila, an empowered woman navigating life with purpose, joined by a little hero at her side, with the wind tousling her hair and the sun warming her face. Lila realized they could take on anything together. They had found their place, a community of strength, support, and love. And as they headed home, Lila felt light. The burdens that once tethered her now transformed into wings. They could soar together, fully embracing the blessings that lay ahead. This was just the beginning. So, dear friends, if this story touched your heart and gave you that surge of hope, I'd urge you, subscribe immediately to this channel so you don't miss more exclusive stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let others find these powerful transformations. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about how Lila's journey impacted you. And don't forget to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who would need to experience this uplifting transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second. Join us as we build a community of hope, resilience, and love.